Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, I've made a huge shift in my thinking of mental health resources and just mental health in general.
Hello, 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 and welcome to the Clubhouse. I am joined here with our man of the month for August. Grant, how are we doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. It's been a good weekend and we're back, so I'm happy to be back. Fourth episode. We like I said last time, we're seasoned veterans now, but I think I'm like fully now an expert at the podcasting thing now. But I'm good today. My spirits are high and can't complain.
Nice. How's the weather where you are?
It is hot. It is hot. It is. I went to a football game on Saturday, and it was a night kickoff, and it was still 95 degrees at night. So yes, here in Texas, the summer lasts for about 10 months, it seems. So I still got another month or two of 95, 100-degree weathers, but it's better than the cold. I'll take the heat better than the cold any day. So I cannot complain about that either.
Oh my
That's why we got
gosh.
AC.
Yes, exactly. So
Yep.
have you been able to get out and enjoy this kind of weather or what's been going on with you?
You can enjoy it to a certain extent. I think it's you have to do it in short periods. Anything longer than I think Saturday was the longest I had been outside. For 2 hours, and it takes its toll. But I try to and get outside, and then quickly retreat back to the AC after a short period of time. But it's nice to go outside, and I've got a balcony, and so I like going out there and feeling the sun, getting my vitamin D and whatnot. So I think it's important to go and be outside, especially when you don't know how long the sun's going to last for, and before it gets cloudy and the winter comes, you got to enjoy the sunny days. So I always try to make it a point, at least once or twice a day, to get out. And sometimes it's tough, when you're working, and especially working from home. I think it's especially during the winter months, it's hard because you're just kind of cooped up, and it can take a toll because all you know is kind of this work environment, and you're cut off from social interactions and whatnot, and seeing the sun. So I think it's important to get out and feel the sun and kind of take a breather at least once a day. So I try to do at least that.
Oh yeah. No, for sure. I definitely notice my mental health whenever I work remote. Um yeah, I have to set timers to make sure I step outside and go see the sun because otherwise I will get so anxious.
Yep. I'll have days where I'll look up, I'll start working, and I'll just put my head down, and then you look up and it's 8 o'clock at night, and I have to set reminders to eat and do like basic things because you just don't realize it when you get into a hole and you start going, and then you look up and you got to really take those. I think timers are great. Whatever you got to do to like have your own time to kind of breathe, honestly, and separate yourself from, because it's so easy. I always tell myself the work will always be there, and there's never going to be a lack of work, and so it's important to always take those times for yourself and breathe and eat and do the basic life. So
Yeah. So today we're filming on a Monday, and how many therapy sessions do you have under your belt?
I've got, it's a good question. I think I've got five now, five therapy sessions now. So, and honestly, the last one that I had was probably, I feel like there's been stages, and kind of noticeable progression at each stage. And so obviously, you'll have good sessions. I haven't had a bad session, but like I've had sessions that are better than others. And I don't know what to attribute that to, but you just start getting onto a certain subject, and whether Matt, my counselor, is just locked in that day, or like we just start getting on something and we're kind of feeding off it. So the last one, the one before, we were talking about job and stress, and that was really helpful, just to put things in perspective. And he's really good. I think therapy is great for shifting perspective, um, and kind of your frame of reference in thinking about things. And I think Matt has been really great about that. And you get into a rut or a negative way of thinking about things, or just in this certain mindset that is, it's heavy, it's clouded, and to have, somebody on the outside that can take your way of thinking and rephrase it, reword it, and kind of shift that mindset is really helpful. And so the particular week I was having, it was stressful, and I think it was a Thursday, and so I was kind of worn down, and I was just kind of at my wits' end. Didn't wasn't happy, just stressed, and I needed someone to like tell me that, one, what I was thinking was normal, and two, like there's a way to go about it where you can protect yourself and think about things in a way that will help you deal with things like that. And so I think Matt was great for that at that moment in time. And then the last session, we were just talking about, because I had progression up to that point and maturing, and so we kind of got down into more granular things of, I had made a big shift on the grand scheme of things, but getting down into like the nitty gritty and like, okay, like what, like focusing on very specific things. And it was more big picture things, which is great. And you have to establish that first. But that last session, we were really getting into, how to approach, just getting comfortable with silence. And, I think a lot of people struggle with silence. It's a very basic human thing that silence is uncomfortable. And, you know, getting to a point where you can kind of have fun with it and being in that moment and using it as a tool as opposed to something that you're, afraid of or brings you extreme uncomfort or anything like that. And that's just one example of kind of like a specific thing that we were able to kind of get into, um, and really hash it out, and then you can then apply that to every aspect of your life. And so that's just one small example, but it was a great session. And yeah, I thought we had hit a wall, and then I was like, what more can we talk about? And then sure enough, we start getting into a subject, and the ball starts rolling, and you leave, and you're like, wow, that was amazing.
Oh my gosh, don't you love when that happens?
It's great. It was, yeah. I mean, I just left so, and I think Matt too. It was funny because like you could just tell that we were both like really enjoying, and like we didn't want to get off the phone. We was like, ah, man, I've got another session, but this has been like we were both really enjoying just kind of talking through things. I think he started realizing some things about me and himself, and like he was able to have some realizations himself, and then we started talking through them. It was a cool session, and I was wondering if I should keep doing it. The value of it, you I hit a stage where I was like, okay, this has been great, and I've made a lot of progress, but it's like, now what? And so I went in, wasn't sure what we were going to talk about, and then you just start chatting about things, and sure enough, something comes up, and then that fuels more discussion, and then you have more breakthroughs, and you have these epiphanies and realizations that would have never occurred had I not sat down and spent the time. So yeah, it was a great 45 minutes, and it makes me look forward again to the next session. So
Nice. And I know you had mentioned in one of the previous episodes that there's a possibility that you guys could meet in person.
we talked about it actually at the last one. So he lives, yeah, about 30 minutes away, um, and I think in the next month or so we'll probably meet in person. I think there'd be a lot of value to it. I think it would be, and I just want to meet him in person and have that. Obviously we have a great relationship, and we've only met 5 times, but we the man knows so much about my life, and um, And like it's funny because he was going through some things with his wife, was being sick and whatnot, and surgery and whatnot. And I saw him. I was like, Matt, you look like shit. And he was like, yeah, I've been dealing with some things. So like I think for him, it's almost therapeutic to be able to shift away and like about other people's problems, but also apply them to his own life and kind of it's like this mutual symbiotic relationship that's kind of cool. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think we'll meet in person one of these days. I think that would be the next stage. So
Oh
happy.
my gosh. Yes, that'll be so fun. Well, that is really interesting. Like they say if you want to learn something, the best way to learn it is to teach it. If you want to, increase your level of happiness, a great way is to show gratitude. Like do something else for someone, call them, let them know you're thankful for them, and that can actually spike your serotonin. So I think it's really cool that you kind of noticed that with Matt as well of okay, he might be going through something, but he can make himself feel a little bit better by helping someone who's also going through something.
It was cool, and that he feels comfortable enough sharing things about his life with me. It makes it feel more personal and more less of a business transaction, and kind of having that human connection of I'm going through things, you're going through things. Let's talk about them and come out on the other side both better for it. And having that it was a very human experience of like, damn, life is hard, and I met you through some app, and this is your job, but at the end of the day, you are a human who deals with things on a daily basis, and your job just happens to be helping other people, other humans, dealing with their things, but that doesn't mean that you don't have your own problems. And so it was, obviously I knew that, but having that conversation and kind of seeing us both grow through just a 45-minute session, and afterwards I think we were both on cloud nine because we were able to talk through some very difficult, challenging things that life has thrown at us, and how we're both dealing with it. And I could talk about how I'm dealing with things, and he can talk about how he's dealing with things. It's almost like sharing notes, and like, oh, that worked for you. Like, I got to try that in my life. And I think it can even happen outside of a counselor client relationship of, just having those open discussions about, like this, like we're having about life struggles, and, how we deal with them, how we don't deal with them, how we, struggle to deal with them, and almost comparing notes. And these are my struggles. Everybody has different struggles.
So I know that he had given you, a few weeks ago the homework of journaling. Has there been any more homework that's been implemented, or are we sticking with journaling?
So there's been a few just of practicing of like one example was just taking in a normal conversation, just taking 2 seconds to pause before responding. And I mean, I tell them every week, I'm like, yeah, it's so hard. I can't do it. But I have noticed there's a few times where I do it subconsciously, and I'm like, oh, that was it's very effective. It works, and it works to calm yourself, and it makes the other person feel heard because you're thinking about what the person said as opposed to just immediately responding. And so that was one thing that I've been trying to work on is really taking time to listen, and going back to the being comfortable with silence. I thought that I needed to just conversation is just flowing. You got to, but like there is value to thinking about things and making the other person feel really heard, and that's when the best dialogues, conversations happen, is when both people are truly hearing the other. And so that's been another thing. And then um, yeah, we were talking kind of back on the journaling thing, and he's like, you should keep the journal going. And like I was talking about one thought I had of how I the changes I've seen in just a month, and me thinking, and I think this is very normal, but is it too good to be true? And, when is it, going to wear off? Is it this placebo effect? And, I'm just kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop. And he's like, you should write those thoughts down. And in 20 years, you'll look back and read those. And sure enough, the shoe has not dropped then. And, it'll be very validating for you to see that you were so concerned and worried. And you can then, almost taking like a snapshot of your mental picture right then and there, and then kind of going back and seeing that progress. And I think we talked about that when we were last talking about journaling and being able to track progress. And it's funny because it's you're tracking your mental health, your thoughts, and that is how you do it. Is taking snapshots of where you are in that present moment, and what your thoughts are, your feelings, and so that's been the two. I kind of slowed down on the journaling, and then I've started to pick it back up, just because it's less now of certain situations. It was less of what I was doing before of trying to work through certain situations. I now feel better about those, and now it's kind of just a log of what I'm feeling and my thoughts, and therefore in the future I can just kind of look back and say, wow, like there was some real growth and maturing there. And to think where I was, in August of 2021 to August of 2024, seeing that progress, I think has a lot of value, and can be very very good to see that progress. So I think that's going to be the next thing I'm doing.
Yeah. I mean, that's gotta feel so good. Like you have to take pride in that, like even a small change is gonna propel you to something so much bigger. With that being said, what is one thing you're super proud of yourself for?
I think I'm very proud of myself in going along the progress that I've seen in my ability to deal with setbacks. And I think there will always be setbacks. It's not going to be this smooth road to happiness and fulfillment. It's never going to be smooth. Um, and so I've dealt with setbacks, things that have taken shots at, my mental health, just daily things. And we talked about it with me and Matt talked about it 2 weeks ago, and how it's almost the small things that affect you more than the big things, because you're so hard on yourself for the small things. Big things will happen and you understand that, but small things, when they happen and they set you back, or they take chips at you, you will. It's so easy for you to say, "Wow, I can't believe something so small affected me in such a large way," and that is it's such a negative mindset, and it's hard to get out of, though, because small things will always happen to you. They're just a part of life. And so I've gotten so much better at just rolling with those things, and building up this bulletproof, invincible shield to try and protect yourself from those small things. And obviously, they still get to me, as they will continue to get to me. But it's less of the time to recover from them has gotten much faster, and I don't dwell on them so long, because I've made this shift in thinking, going back to the shift in mindset and reference of now I recognize that little things will happen to me, and they're not the end of the world, and to not get so hard on yourself for things that will continue to happen. And so I'm very happy, and I think it's made a huge difference just knowing that I will be okay at the end of it. And you have to love yourself, and small things will happen, and regardless, you still have to maintain that self love. So that's been the biggest thing I've seen, and I'm it's still a lot of work, and I'm still working on it, but I'm very proud of the progress that I've made so far on that.
Like you said, those small little negative things will happen, totally, but so will small little positive things. And I think a lot of times we kind of overlook the positive, and we maybe dwell on the negative. For example, maybe we'll vent to someone about something negative that's happening before we vent to them about our success, you know? So for me, I always try and find those little positive things that happen. Like, even if it's just someone like blessing me after I sneeze, like a stranger, I love that shit. I'm like, you didn't have to do that, girl. I needed that, but you didn't have to do it. So yeah, just keeping that positive frame of mind, and like you said, realizing that the negative will pass, the good will pass, and it'll all just keep coming.
Yep, I think I like that what you said of venting about positive things. I think we, as humans dwell so much on the negative. And we're surrounded by, the news, everything is very negative. And so I think it's very hard to focus on the positives. But, I like the concept of venting about positive things because it just is not a thing that happens. Like, people don't just, you don't come up to your best friend and just give them all the just positive things that have happened in the past 24 hours. It's usually the drama or, something someone said, the negative things, and we don't really share that positivity enough. I'm going to start trying to vent positivity more.
Yes, and I'm going to hold you to it. You already know I'm going to
Please
be
do.
banging your line. Okay, so obviously, sadly, our time with you as the man of the month is coming to an end.
It's been a good run. It's been a good
A
run. It's
good
been
run.
a life altering month. So, and I'm
Yes.
glad to have been able to share it with everybody in the Heartfelt Club. But it's been a fantastic month, and I appreciate you. I cannot tell you, I appreciate you for making it happen and allowing it to happen. It's been the nothing will be the same, as Drake once said. So,
Our boy. Yes. So, how would you rate your mental health service? We use BetterHelp. How would you rate that on a scale of 1 to 10?
1 to 10, I'll break it up into categories. I think it's hard to give. I'll give a general 9, but it's difficult because I've not been able to compare it to other. But my general experience with it has been very, very, very positive. I'm not getting paid by BetterHelp, so I'm not. It's not a paid sponsorship. This is my unbiased opinion. But I would give it a 9 at least. The as far as just like an app goes, it's very easy to use. The whole startup process was very easy. Um, the way I get connected, scheduling sessions, the video, all of that is very easy to use, user friendly. So I've been very happy with that. Obviously I think my counselor is great, and so I don't know if I got lucky or like the algorithm was good or what, but whatever it was, it worked. And I found a great counselor on the first try. And so overall, I think it's a great service and would say a 9.2.
Awesome. Would you say that, these sessions have improved relationships that you have within your life?
Absolutely. I think that I am now a more self aware person because I've had someone to show me things about my life that I either one didn't want to see or deal with, or two that I just didn't know were there. And it takes someone from the outside looking in to be able to point those things out and kind of walk you to those things. Matt didn't just meet me and say, "This is part of you that you've never known." Obviously, like, there's a process of walking me, guiding me to that. And so I do think I'm much more self-aware and a happier person, and that carries over into every single relationship. And I want to you know grow those relationships. There's this new desire to build and flesh out every single relationship, friendship, family that I have. I realized I knew the importance before, but I just don't think I realized what it could do for me. I always viewed relationships as trying to maintain them, as a kind of this task, this hobby that I needed to do, in order to, keep them around and make them happy. But it can be so important to you to have those personal relationships. and then in doing so, it helps the other person. It's very, it's a mutual positive thing, and I think I've realized that now, that yes, I had my friends and my family, I love them dearly, but investing in them can cause so much positive growth in yourself, and I think that has been a huge change for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. How would you say your perspective on mental health resources has potentially changed?
I have become a huge advocate for them because I've now seen what they can do and how non-intimidating they can be, and accessible. Obviously price is always a concern, but just having the app is a great example of something that works with my life, that I have access to, that I can use just using my phone. Um, as something that I thought was inaccessible, that I had to go sit on someone's couch and in a stuffy room in an office, that can be very intimidating and off-putting, was to me, and I'm sure it can be to other people too. Therapy, counseling. That's just not the case anymore. That's you don't have to. That can work for some people, but for other people, it's not how they would like to get their mental health resources. And so I think nowadays with technology and whatnot, there's so many ways to access these resources. And so I think it's I've become an advocate in that it's accessible, and I think anybody now within reason can find ways to gain access to it, more so than they were in the past. And two, it's I'll be honest, I was nervous. I was afraid going into it because it's just such a new experience. It's, wandering into the great unknown. You're nervous because you don't know, one, if it's going to help, whether you're fixable, um, and two, kind of if that pain, if you are fixable, if that is going to be a painful experience, or what have you. And I think now I've realized that you know, even if you think you have spectacular mental health, I think even just a check in, even when I'm in a good spot that week, a check in is still very important. And having someone to hold you accountable and just kind of discuss anything that's going on that week, even when I'm in a good place, has been extremely helpful and beneficial. So, yeah, it's definitely, I mean, I've made a huge shift in my thinking of mental health resources and just mental health in general, and that this it's like your physical health. You can take care of it, and at times you need someone else to help you through it. It doesn't have to be a paid therapist, but someone that is looking out for you, in a safe space to discuss feelings and emotions and thoughts, I think can do wonders for your mental health and stress levels and just overall enjoyment and happiness. I think just having that space is very important, and I would never thought I would be saying that a month ago. So
Well, we just want to thank you so much for, taking that leap of faith and letting us accompany you on this journey into something that obviously is very life-changing but can be, very intimate and very scary. So, we applaud you for not only like taking that first step, but we thank you for letting us come along. You never know who this video could find. So, like, I'm sure there's someone listening who needs to hear exactly what you're giving out.
absolutely, and I mean, I am just an average, regular guy that was, chosen to, and I'm not special. I think it can help anybody. There's nothing that makes me different, that makes therapy, counseling more beneficial. I think it's helpful to anybody that can, that thinks they need it, or is going through anything difficult. And like I said, there's more mental health resources than just therapy, but just thinking about it and knowing that it's out there and it's something that is attainable and can make real differences. I just don't think I realized that going in, and I needed a push like this to make that leap. And so I thank you. I thank everybody that's listening for that encouragement. And I think that's really what it is encouragement. I think some people can just do with encouragement of getting over that last step. And it's not easy, but definitely don't be embarrassed and ashamed, or obviously it's okay to be scared, nervous, but embarrassment and shame should not be feelings that you have about the process, about taking the leap. There's very normal feelings, and that's okay. But looking back when I was starting, I don't know why I was a bit embarrassed, or like just unsure, or how people were going to take it or whatnot. And I have, to answer your question, I know it's been a theme, a trend. I have told people. I
Yay!
told some friends, a couple of friends,
And how'd
and
that
some
go?
coworkers. It went great. I mean, they applauded me, and they again encouraged me, and they were just happy for me because they are friends, and I should not be afraid to tell them about things that are going on in my life. But it's not easy, and it was definitely a leap, and I still had that moment of pause, and till I finally just got it out. And of course, they were supportive because they're my friends and they love me. But it was I said it. I was like, oh, that felt pretty good to finally tell somebody outside of my close family, that this is something that I'm going through and experiencing. And I think everybody would have the same reaction of very supportive. If they're genuine friends, they would be supportive. And obviously, if it makes me happy, and I'm something that I want to do, then absolutely they're going to be right there behind me, supporting me. So
Y'all cannot see this, but I'm smiling ear to ear. I am so happy about this. Oh, that's awesome,
it's
Grant. That is so
good.
cool. Yeah, so it is our time to do our calls to action. Are we ready? I just want to ask anyone who's out here listening to set up a date with a friend with the sole intention of both of you bragging about yourselves. Maybe someone just got a new job. Maybe they just left a shitty relationship. Maybe they just got a new pet gecko and they deserve to brag about this little lizard. So set up a date with a friend. You brag, they brag. Y'all need to just have that space. That's my call to action.
I love that. I think it's important, and I think you guys should go vent positivity during that too as well. My call to action is going to be what we discussed at the beginning, and taking a moment for yourself, a breather, and separating yourself from your stressors, and having a space and time to yourself to honestly just relax. And it's so easy to get wrapped up in life, and taking, whether it's just 10 minutes to yourself, life will always be there when you get back. And I think it's so, so important to take a breath and look out for yourself, and, take a mental inventory, and, treat yourself. So,
Yes.
yeah, that's my call to action. Treat yourself.
Hell yes. I
Yeah.
love it. And if anyone out here is listening and looking for, a sign from the universe of the positive energy that's always flowing, hug someone, get a hug, and see how those feel different. Receiving a hug versus giving a hug definitely has different energy. So go test that out as well. Grant, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for giving us a month of your life and hopping into therapy with us. We love you, we love you, we love you. And kings and queens, you are seen, you are heard, you are loved. Don't forget to go out there and be more heartfelt. Woo!
Woo!
I love the woo.